I'm here today, Kim Knight from kimknighthealth.com, and I'm speaking with Fiona, a lovely client who I've been working with recently. Welcome, Fiona.
Hello.
And just to explain to everybody why I'm on video and Fiona is a picture, it's because we couldn't get the video to work on her camera, so we found a beautiful picture, and hopefully that will work. So Fiona, we worked together for a few months, and the purpose of talking with you is to really inspire others that have had as such challenging issues as you that actually there is hope, and that even if we're told by other therapists or medical practitioners that they don't know what the problem is and that there's no solution, that actually there very probably is a solution.
Mm-hmm.
So if we were to start with asking you how you were before, if you can remember, because often we forget some of the bad things, but if you can remember how you were before we started working together, can you remember or describe where you were at?
Yeah, for sure. So before we started working together, I was pretty much bedridden all day. I'd get up to go to the toilet. That was about it. I'd have meals cooked for me and brought to me in bed. So yeah, in bed most of the time. Extreme fatigue, a lot of dizziness and vertigo, felt nauseous all the time, trouble with my vision and focusing on things, sensitivity to light, had lots of headaches, ringing in the ears, sort of felt really shaky on the inside, which wasn't visible on the outside of my body, but really shaky on the inside. Low blood pressure, pain behind my left eye, and just sort of constant lower back pain as well. Just a weakness in my body, aching legs, particularly at night. I think that's about everything. In a lot of pain a lot of the time.
Yeah, so a lot of pain, a lot of fatigue, and a lot of other symptoms as well, which basically disabled your life to the point that you had to move in with your in-laws because you couldn't look after your children fully.
Yeah. So my husband and I, we were living in northern New South Wales, and we had to move over. We sold our house and moved to Melbourne to live with the in-laws. So that was a pretty big move and a big sacrifice that we had to sort of make, big life decision that we had to make.
Yeah, it's huge. And how long had you been in that place before we met? I mean, not physically the place, I mean in the place of not being well.
Yeah, so before we met, it had been 8 months.
And what other routes had you tried before we spoke, and what was the result of going down those routes?
So I'd seen GPs, a few different GPs, had lots of blood tests done. I'd seen a neurologist, a cardiologist. I had MRI scans of my brain, CT scans done of my brain, MRI of my back. I had gone down the traditional Chinese medicine route, acupuncture, different types of massage, EFT. What else was there?
That's quite a few.
Yeah, there was a lot of things that I tried. I also went and saw a naturopath as well.
And by the time you'd gone through all those different routes, what did you discover about what was causing the problem and the symptoms up to that point?
Well, up to that point, it was just, there was nothing, and everything that I tried, it just was not alleviating the symptoms. I still felt just as terrible. I just didn't feel like I was getting anywhere doing all these different things.
Yeah, and I seem to remember that one of the first things you said in the first email you sent me was that nobody could tell you what was wrong.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. No yeah, it was really frustrating and scary as well. Yeah, I felt really scared just because I could feel that there was something wrong with me. But yeah, just no one could, I just craved someone just to say, yep, it's this. But yeah, there was just no one knew. Everyone was just scratching their heads and they just didn't know.
Yeah, and it's true. It's a good point to point out that it can be really, really scary, because if we don't know what's wrong and we don't know how to solve it, and if we don't know there's a solution, then it can lead to helplessness and a lot of fear.
Yep.
And that's
Yep.
not a nice place to be.
Yeah, definitely. I
Mm.
think I end up in hospital a few times, and a lot of that was just the anxiety of not knowing what was going on. And I
Yeah.
sort of just caught up in this spiral when I started feeling bad, then not knowing and,
Yeah.
thinking I'm going to die. A lot of the times I thought that I was dying, and
Yeah.
just having anxiety. Yeah, it's ended up in hospital.
Yeah, and again, this is quite common, and misunderstood as well, unfortunately. So one of the reasons for doing this video is to really educate people and bring this new information to light, so that people know that there are other options and that there are solutions. So thank you for, being willing to have this chat.
You're welcome.
So what did you discover, if you remember, because I know it was like 6 months ago now, what did you discover on that first session that really changed things in your mind?
I think what really changed it for me was realizing that it wasn't, because everything happened to me after the birth of my second child. It's pretty much straight after that event that my symptoms came really bad. Before that, I thought I was fit and healthy, but when we looked back, sort of like a timeline of my life, it was pretty much just one thing after the other. So I had lots of lower back pain, then that would be okay. Then I got a kidney infection, and I recovered from that. I had an eating disorder, recovered from that. So it was sort of one thing after the other. And I sort of realized that it wasn't the birth of the child that caused this. That was just the straw that broke the camel's back. It was all this other stuff, yeah, that had always been going on in me that I hadn't addressed.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it, the last straw effect. And it's, again, another major missing piece of information, where the point of collapse is the point where people think, well, that must be the problem, but actually the problem started a lot earlier.
Yeah, definitely. So it was that, but as well as that, it was just realizing that I had so much trouble communicating how I was feeling to people, and just discussing things, and just realizing that, yeah, I never put myself first, and I don't have any boundaries. People just walk all over me all the time. So I think when we talked about those three things, I was just blown away, and I was like, that's me.
Yeah, it's great to get that understanding
Yeah.
from the outside, and to get the ratification as well, and the recognition of what's actually going on. What would you say were the three main things, or you could even say the one main thing, that really started to turn things around?
Few things. I think to start with, just learning about emotions and primary and secondary emotions, because I just had no idea what I was feeling. I'd feel it, but I didn't know what it was. So it may sound a bit strange to people, but I'd feel angry and I wouldn't know that I was feeling angry. I didn't recognize that feeling of anger in me. So it was about learning and identifying these emotions, and then being able to communicate these emotions. So just having the tools and learning the tools to communicate these emotions to people and communicate how I'm feeling. So I
Why
think,
did that make a difference physically? Because what people can sometimes find really difficult to understand, and I totally understand why it would be, sound a little crazy, is
Yep.
that emotions, if they're not dealt with, can create severe, debilitating physical symptoms.
yeah, because I wasn't expressing these emotions, I would just stuff them down and I would just ignore them. And that's what was just sort of bubbling up in me. And I think it was causing, well, I know it was causing a lot of anxiety and stress in me, just always just pushing these emotions down and not putting myself first.
So from your experience from the inside of your body, because this is quite a strange concept for a lot of people to really take on board, the
Yeah, it
fact
is.
that emotions and feelings, if they're suppressed and kept inside the body, can actually create physical pain and exhaustion. From your internal experience, if emotions are being suppressed inside of you, what is it that actually turns them into physical pain from your perspective?
I think in my perspective, it just flying around in my body and just ruminating on things. So I'd feel angry, then I'd sort of stuff it down, but then I'd think about that situation, replay it, and keep getting that emotion, keep stuffing it down.
Because what's really interesting here, and just to explain to anybody who's watching this, is that emotions are a form of energy, and a human being is a form of energy. And through the laws of quantum physics and even just physics, once energy is generated, it can't be destroyed. And so when we hold emotional energy inside of us, it literally rewires our cells into a state of dis-ease. And at a cellular level, our body starts to function differently because there's all this trapped energy inside of us. So, from a scientific standpoint, that's actually what's happening, but it does still sound bizarre, doesn't it? The thought that emotions can create a physical change in the body to the point that we have severe pain and fatigue. It's almost incomprehensible.
But it does.
Yeah, it does. It absolutely does, because we know the proof is in the pudding, is that when we learn how to deal with the emotions and we deal with all that stuff, that the pain just starts to disappear and the symptoms start to disappear. Mm-hmm. And when I was talking with you the other day, you were saying that one by one your symptoms started dropping away. Can you share a bit about that?
It has been a sort of a slow process. And I think that's another thing that I've learned, is that your body just needs time. It needs time to heal. So you can't just, think that, in a month I'm going to be better, or some people it might. But for me, because it was so deep-seated, and this is just how I had always been with my emotions, that, it just took me a while to implement the keys and just learn about everything. And so slowly, one by one, over the months, my symptoms have dropped off. So I had ringing in the ears, and that left. Sort of a shakiness that I felt inside has gone. My dizziness recently has gone. So it's just slowly, one by one, my symptoms are dropping off, and I've been getting a lot more energy as well.
Yes, and it's a good point about this thing about it not happening overnight, because how many years would you say it was that you were in that sort of stress state where things were just one after the other building up?
It would have been since I was sort of 8-9 years old.
So how many years from that then till now? How many years is that? Giving away your age here.
33 years.
Right. So it's not a bad ratio, but bearing in mind that, we have to rebalance things, and there's like this sort of yin-yang rebalancing, that you could be 33 years stressed and building up stuff and then 6 months to turn it around. It's actually a pretty good ratio.
Yeah, it is.
But it's also this expectation that we're often conditioned into in our society, that you take a pill and in a day or a week or 2 weeks everything is fine, and it's such a myth. We have to do the work, right? You would agree that you have to do what you need to do to take the body out of that stress state and to deal with all the emotions. Definitely. In order for the body to restore back to its natural state of health.
Definitely. You still got to do the work, otherwise it's never going to change. Once you stop taking that pill, it's going to come back, or down the track something else is going to happen. So it's just so important to take the time and just do that work. And
Because the good thing is when we do this work and we really do it properly, it is lasting. It's what I call positive lasting change. It's not a temporary fix. One of the things that I've seen for sure is that the body, we need to ensure that we've consolidated the changes for the body to trust us enough that it doesn't need to send those symptoms anymore as a warning that we've gone off track. And that's
Yeah.
another reason why it can take time. Because sometimes we could perhaps turn around in a week or 2 or 3 or 4, but then if we haven't made those changes sustainable, and there's so much, that word is thrown around a lot, in the world today, sustainability, but if we don't make those changes sustainable inside of us, then it's only a temporary fix.
Yep, that's right.
Mm.
Yep.
So what has changed for you, for example, in your relationship with your family and your parents?
It's completely changed. Yeah, I went from just feeling just so scared to speak my truth. I was really just sort of worried about upsetting people all the time, and just not confident and not empowered. And now I can just speak my truth and put in boundaries. I used to just let my family walk over me all the time. And yeah, now I know how to put boundaries in a nice way. And I can do it in a confident manner as well. So I'm just much more relaxed around my family, and I just have a much more open heart towards them and a lot more understanding and respect towards them as well.
Yeah, and also it's fair to say that a lot of what we did together was really helping you see what you hadn't seen before, because you never realized before that you actually were being walked over or allowing yourself to be walked over. And
Mm-hmm.
so first of all, what you had to learn to recognize that was happening.
Yeah, definitely. Everyone used to say, oh, Fiona, she's so easygoing, and isn't she good? She's so relaxed and easygoing. And I would get so much positive feedback that I was so easygoing. But inside, I was just screaming sort of on the inside.
And how about the difference with your husband?
So with my husband, our relationship has completely changed as well. I don't think we'd still be together if I hadn't done this work with you. Again, it's just being able to communicate to him how I'm feeling and putting myself first and setting boundaries with him as well. But yeah, the biggest thing has just been just communicating how I'm feeling. And so he's just developed this understanding of how I'm feeling and what I need for me to make me happy. It really has transformed our relationship.
It does. It affects everyone. Because
Yeah.
the interesting thing about this work, and it's one of the most profound differences in terms of this approach to healthcare as opposed to the plain going to the doctor, and I'm not putting doctors down in any way. I think we need everything. There's absolutely a place for everything, and there is amazing work done in surgeries and even, in medication. But one of the major differences is that we treat a person, not the illness.
Mm-hmm.
And we heal a whole person's life, not just their condition. And that is the difference. So we were really addressing your whole life, your environment and everybody in your life and what has happened to you in your life. Everything had to be attended to and looked at.
Yep, definitely. And the flow-on effect as well has been that my husband he's learnt from me, just watching me, and so he's been able to communicate his feelings a lot better as well. So there's been a bit of a flow-on effect happening too, which has been really good.
Yeah, well, it's really interesting because I heard a quote once, something along the lines of that when we give ourselves permission to be authentic, we give other people permission to be authentic too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So what one thing would you say to somebody who maybe is in a similar place to you and they've tried lots of different avenues. Maybe they're feeling scared, they don't know what to do. What one piece of advice would you give them in terms of what to do?
I would definitely advise them to seek out someone like you to help them, and just to also just get a strong support network surrounding them, and also just trust your body. Like, it is scary, but just trust that your body, it knows how to heal. It just knows how to do that. So just trust your body, and when there are symptoms, it's just your body trying to tell you something. It's not, doesn't have to be scary. So just try and just really, I guess, be relaxed, and just be kind to yourself and be gentle with yourself, and just trust your body.
Yeah, and that's an important point, because one of the things that I certainly learned is the body is far too intelligent to make mistakes. And if we have illness, it's actually not a mistake. It's our body actually trying to alert us to something that's going on in our life that needs attending to. And it's actually on our side. It's not the enemy. And most people see their symptoms as the enemy, and they're trying to fight it and get rid of it. And it's not the way. We actually have to see that it's our friend. We just have to interpret the message beneath the symptoms.
Definitely. And I think that was a big change for me as well, was not fighting it, was just sort of just allowing it to be, and not sort of fighting against it, and just, going on Google and looking up all these symptoms, and, just stop Googling your symptoms and just...
It's such a common thing, actually, which I've never done. I have to say, I've never Googled my symptoms, and yet apparently it is a very, very common thing to do. And because there's this lack of understanding, it can just lead to a lot of fear and confusion.
Yeah, it does. It sure does.
So that's why we have to go inside, not be searching outside. We have to go inside and learn about ourselves and find out what our body is telling us. So tell me how your life is now, 6 months later.
So now I can get out of bed in the morning. I do a little bit of yoga every day. I go for walks every day. I'm up to 20 minutes at the moment, which doesn't sound like much, but I did start off by just walking for 1 minute. So I'm slowly just increasing the amount that I can do. I can play with my kids now, and I can have lunch and dinner with them. And just do a lot more in the day. I'm also learning how to have more of a balanced lifestyle, so to have more fun and to have more creativity in my day as well. Because before I was, a full-time mum, so it was all just kid stuff all the time, and I really took great pride in being a super mum. And would never stop to take any time for myself. So yeah, in my day now, I do take a lot of time to myself, and I do a lot of meditation, and go to the beach. So my day is a lot different to what it was 14 months ago.
And you also managed to move out of your in-laws and into your own place again with your husband and children.
That's right. Yeah, we're back on our own again, which is so good.
Excellent. So any last comment that you would like to share before we close?
I guess if you are suffering from if you do have a chronic illness, just there is help out there for you. So don't give up. Go out there and look for someone who is like Kim, who's trained in different types of therapy that can really help you just learn about all these different emotions, and just help you with a whole different side of things that you probably would have never thought of. Just look at all aspects of it. Like, it's so holistic, look at everything and just listen to your body.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much again, Fiona, for taking the time to chat.